Good morning, everyone. I see so far that we've got Jerry Thompson here. Jerry, you are the early bird. I had everything planned, and then a cat happened. I will just show you. This cat does not ever want snuggles, except right now. So there's that. Enjoy that. We've got, I think, a very fun show for you today. Very fun and interesting show. If I do not get murdered by this murder mittens before we get there. So thank you, Eliana, for joining us and co-hosting. So if you have not been here before, please say hello in the comments. We are live on Facebook and YouTube, and we are monitoring both. So this is Coffee Break with Steve. Obviously, I'm not Steve, but we'll get into that in a moment. Our motto, as always, is put on the brakes, grab a cup of coffee or your beverage of choice, and join the conversation because it is now time for Coffee Breaks with Steve. I don't know if I'm the only one who noticed that Steve always takes the obligatory sip right after that video plays. Oh, did I unmute me? Carissa said I had to unmute me. She knows things. No, I'm unmuted. Hello, everyone. So Carissa's in the background right now, making sure that our tech actually, functions at a baseline level because she wanted to be on the show, but she's got multiple things happening right now, including family visiting and a sick small child. So she thought maybe we didn't necessarily want to hear sick small child in the background as much as we love said child. Hello, Carson. Carson Jean, dancing queen. So she's just hanging out. Carissa's hanging out in the background, just making sure that I sound beautiful, as I'm sure you all agree. So welcome to Coffee Breaks with Steve. We have, I don't know if we have any birthdays today. I know we have one tomorrow that Carissa Lynn did not want me to mention, but I'm going to do it. So tomorrow is Carissa Lynn's birthday. Happy early birthday, Carissa Lynn. So there, she really did not want me to bring it up. I'm a loving sister. And if you have any anniversaries or birthdays or special dates or occasions that you want to see featured on Coffee Breaks with Steve, please reach out and email Coffee Breaks with Steve. At some point, Carissa is going to help me out by putting the email in the chat for everybody. Look at that. There you go. Let us know in the chat. It was there and it was gone. You're going to have to go back and pause it. So today, our sweet and savory, the charcuterie, you know how much I love the charcuterie. So our sweet and savory today is talking about where's Steve? Where in the world is Steve? He's like Carmen Sandiego, but he's not wearing red. That's really the only difference. Right now, they are in Italy, him and his sibs, who are often on the show as well, joining in and watching Coffee Breaks. So there's Scott and Carla and Kathy and, of course, Steve. So right now they're actually in Rome. Dad called us this morning from, and Kathy's husband, Rod. Dad called us this morning from the Trevi Fountain. We asked if he was going to throw a coin in. He said, we already did that. Okay, fine. That's fine. You don't have to include me in it. And of course, Italian Cat made an appearance. I don't know the story behind this, but I approve of it immensely. So yeah, there's that. If you are not following his adventures, you know Dad is photographer extraordinaire. He cannot help himself. So there are plenty of stories and very interesting things that you can go and see on his Facebook page about his adventures. I don't think he's doing the trivia. So sometimes if you know, you know that he'll do like trivia games with prizes for his audience, not even on Coffee Breaks, but on his Facebook, like just family and friends. And if you answer right with the trivia, you like get a signed photograph or a mug. It's excellent, if I may say so. I don't think he's doing that trivia, so I don't think I've given anything away by telling you that he's at the Trevi Fountain. But if I did, congratulations, you may have just won a mug. Can't say for sure. So as the slide says, if you have a special day, a special news story, something of interest coming up, something for sweet and savory, email cbwsteve@comcast.net. Okay. So today we have a guest that I am very excited about because I found this guest, guys. I got her here. So this is, I'm going to introduce her right now. This guest is actually my personal trainer. This is Kristin. Hello. So Kristin, I'm probably going to get this wrong, but my intro for you, I put down Kristin Parker Johnson is a personal trainer and the creator of Essentials Fitness, a company focusing on holistic wellness and transformation with their motto, Live Better, a simple and direct motto that truly reflects their mission. You have a master's degree in health and fitness. I could not find from where.
Well, it's in Houston, Texas. It's basically what is it? It's part of basically the University of Houston.
Okay, University of Houston. Yeah. And you also have a certification in precision nutrition coaching. What is that? Tell me about that.
Precision nutrition is it's a overarching, I would say, nutrition coaching specialization. Um, Pretty much anything that you can come up with needing guidance around your nutrition behaviors, your mindset. It's not just here, eat this food, learn how to do meal plans. Like, it's a very, very comprehensive approach to not only nutrition, but wellness around nutrition and how you approach that. So it's a very, very in-depth certification. I will say that.
Okay.
It takes months to a year to complete. So
8 months to a year?
Usually 6 to 12 months, I would say, is the average, depending on your intensity with it.
Well, I might have this wrong, and I'm curious if anybody knows in the comments of the truth around what I'm about to say. But I work at this part I know. I work at a medical school, and I swear there is like 2 days of nutrition covered for a doctoral medical doctor program. Like, it's a real small amount of time that's usually spent on nutrition for your MDs and your DOs. So 8 to 12 months to get that certification. Wow, that's awesome. I love that. But I kind of wish everybody who was in the medical field had to do it.
I'd say that's one of my biggest upsets when it comes to what I do. Is nutrition is such a big factor. It's not about just eating less and moving more. I mean, yes, that is part of it, but really working on your wellness, towards your wellness, it's unfortunate that it's not a bigger requirement when it comes to the medical field, because I think the biggest issue that we have, sorry, America, but in this country, is we approach our health and wellness, or we approach our health, I'm not even going to say wellness, overall, in a way where you're trying to fix a problem instead of trying to prevent the problem in the first place.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes to the food industry, and then the lack of awareness, the lack of in-depth knowledge that does come from the medical side of things, unless you pursue it yourself. So that's really something that I would like to see change, but that's also a process. So maybe one day.
So I have to ask, is going for a doctorate in your future, is that of any interest to you?
It probably back in the day, it was something that crossed my mind. I think at this point, where I am in life with, being the age that I am and having a third human on the way in a few months, I don't know time-wise, but we'll see. You never know. I would definitely love to see forward movement in that area of things. But, I think there's also other ways that I could probably make an impact without having
contribute to the world.
More money, more time, all of that. So it's just one of those, I don't know.
Well, also you brought this up and I meant to bring it up, but tell me, so where are you located? What is your situation in life? Who are you? Who is with you there?
Well, we have, let's see, it's April. No, it's what? Yeah, we're in April officially. In September of 2023, we made a big move from, I've spent my whole life, my husband and I, 40 years in Texas. And during COVID, he was like, let's move to the mountains of Kentucky. And I'm like, what? Why? I'm like, it's a whole big, there's a background there of very unhealthy dynamics from a lot of avenues in our history. I mean, my husband has had so many health problems that we got to a point where, he was also working in the oil and gas industry for about 15 years. And that is just destructive on your health. Obviously, we live close to the chemical plants. That was destructive on our health. It affected our marriage. It just everything, mental health, emotional health, that leads to, behaviors of alcoholism. It led to a lot of really unhealthy things individually and as a couple, and it was basically destroying our family. We came very, very, very close to divorce. And this was before 2020. So in 2020, we kind of gained that perspective on what really matters. He did get let go from that job, which I could not have been more grateful for. Stressful time, yes, as it was for everybody, but it was the absolute best thing that ever happened to us, frankly. And so June of 2020, he was like, let's move. And I'm like, all right, So we spent the next about 2 years focusing on, putting all the ducks in a row. What do we need to do to make this happen? It's not a small move. We literally sold everything. We sold 1 of 2 cars. We sold every appliance. We sold as many items in the house as we could. We're like, why do we have this? Got rid of everything. And in September of this last year, we are now officially in the Appalachian Mountains of Kentucky. Mm-hmm. We found a property that is, well, it was completely undeveloped, no running water, no electricity, no nothing. My husband and my daughter came out here for about 3 months over the summer. They built 3 16 by 16 cabins. So we literally live in cabins. Okay. They're lined up next to each other. We have our own little community. We have neighbors that are kind of close by. But we are just figuring it out as we go. And we've never been healthier, never been happier. Okay. In every aspect. And like I mentioned a few minutes ago, we were so happy that we're like, we're 40. Let's have another kid. Okay, so we have an almost 17-year-old and almost 11-year-old, and in June we will have a newborn.
Wow!
So
you know what? I think that's excellent spacing out. You get through some of the stages before you have to do it again. I personally, I see that
as the exact opposite of what because for years we were like, nope, we got 2, we have 1 of each, we're done, and why not? Let's start over. You only live once,
okay.
Maybe it's something about nature.
New baby. I love this. Okay. So you mentioned about the health things that were plaguing you guys in Texas.
Yeah.
And it's not a Texas thing, I will say that. If anyone wants to get up in arms about that.
Not overall. No.
Love Texas. But for Texas is doing great things in Texas. But for Kristin's story, I know that you've talked about it seems like you've always been very health conscious. This has been your field of study.
Right.
But then you had a major switch in 2018 driven by your husband's health issues. Is that right?
Well, it's an interesting story too. Back in, I had always grown up. Now, it's one of those, it's hard to distinguish, growing up, you're a teenager, you're early 20s, you go to college, you drink because that's just what kids do when, you're partying, you're free. So, but, I grew up with a lot of anxiety, no specific reason. That was just me, and so I think that was kind of my coping mechanism, was drinking. And I don't think I realized how much, because you write it off as, oh, I'm young, I'm a kid, I'm just partying, that's just what you do. So I never really thought anything of it. And then my husband, same thing, at an early age, because we went to the same high school. We just ran in very different circles. So we've known each other, we've known each other's existence for a really long time. In 2004, he was 22. He got into an accident at work where, it was like 8:00 in the morning. He's at a new job. This is his first day at this location at a lumber mill.
Of course.
and he's the safety guy. It's a very ironic story. He's the safety guy, but he doesn't know this facility yet. They're taking him on a tour of this facility. And I know. So he's got gloves on. He's walking, looking at all the machines, learning everything. Well, a machine that they were walking next to, it was kind of close to a wall. It was improperly marked. It was not marked. Protective mechanisms were not in place, but he didn't know that yet because he's learning.
They didn't have it. They needed a safety guy.
Right.
But he had
to learn the facility, and he was learning on day one, and he set his hand down in the wrong place. There was a big vacuum. The vacuum took his glove and took his fingers with it. So he literally had his fingers ripped off. So I know. So obviously,
you're getting a different level of storytelling than I thought you would today, ladies and gentlemen.
Well,
this turned into an action film. You're welcome.
That's where it all started for him. Obviously, this was a traumatic thing for his body, traumatic thing for his brain. So many, many, many surgeries. Well, pain meds, led to him needing to cope with this. PTSD led to depression, led to alcoholism. And I tease now because you have to tease about something whenever you get past it. Like, he was a very talented alcoholic. He was very good at it. You structure your life around alcohol when you're in that place. So I'm doing my own drinking. He's doing heavy drinking. We got together a year and a half after his accident. So he's still deep in depression. I didn't understand it. We're young, we're kids, whatever. So the drinking between the two of us just felt like we're young and partying. So in all of that, it was just a very unhealthy dynamic that we didn't recognize. And it led to progressively getting worse. In that time frame, we had 2 kids over, in our 20s. And several times, we spent some years, we broke up, got back together. Then we started living together. And, there was like 2-3 times where we genuinely were done with each other, but something kept us together. I don't know what it was. Maybe the kids, maybe we were just meant for each other. Who knows? It's one of those things. And it took a lot for us to realize what we were doing, destroying ourselves, destroying each other, destroying our kids.
Even with your fitness knowledge, this was a separate thing?
It was the whole time, because I grew up playing sports, but the whole time through all of that, it's like, you're not living well. And I had the knowledge, but when you're in such a dark place, it's not as simple as, oh, we'll just stop.
Yeah.
I think that's unfortunately a lot of what most people don't understand about addiction. Whatever you're addicted to, you can't just stop.
And I happen to believe that most people are addicted to something, if not multiple somethings. Yeah. They just don't call it addiction, a lot of them. So that's my personal thing. I won't get into it today. But yeah.
Well, it's easy to excuse it away.
When it's someone else too.
It did lead to a point where, completely candid, not to upset anybody, but I happened to walk out on the back porch where my husband was standing back there with a gun in his hand. And I had no idea. He played it off and was like, acted like he was just cleaning the gun. And my cluelessness, I was just like, oh, okay. So he got really low, and it finally broke us. We split, we spent some time apart, and he realized, I got to fix this. I got to get help. He went and got individual therapy, worked on himself, got himself better. Well, got himself improved. And then we went to couples therapy. Don't knock it, people. It's the best thing ever. Like, I think everybody, even if you think you're fine, everybody should do it. It was the greatest thing ever, because I didn't realize how much I was playing a negative role in it. I blamed him. He blamed me. Among other things, it's just, you have to own up to your own stuff before you can own up, fix something with somebody else. And we had done that all of 2018. We got better. We were better by then, but his health declined dramatically. He was only like 35 years old in 2018. And his kidneys were starting to basically shut down. Basically, the all of the years and years of intense alcoholism had already started to catch up to him. On top of the fact that at that time he still worked in the chemical plant industry. That's destructive to your health. And it was just
and it's 13 years after the accident that launched all this. Okay.
Well, it was happening in his body the whole time, but he was drunk every day, so he didn't feel everything that his body was going through because he covered it up with alcohol. And so it was a snowball in a very bad direction. So we spent every last dime we had in 2018. I think we've been from 2018 all the way up to like 2 years ago, probably. No, probably 20. We took a break, have seen a total of 11 different doctors, all different specialties, because nobody could figure out what was wrong with him. And we still don't know what's wrong with him. He still does have some symptoms, but as long as he's in this nature environment, which made a huge difference whenever we moved. I mean, bedridden kind of symptoms. Can't get up, like you have mono, do nothing but sleep. He's in severe pain symptoms that don't make sense. You're just like, where'd that come from? What did you do? What did you eat? Because it's all a factor for him. We basically had to do something because nobody else was going to do it for us. So in 2020 as well, being that was such a hard time with lockdowns and everything, his desire to drink skyrocketed because he stopped drinking September 11th of 2018. I stopped drinking about 6 months after that because we were still trying to get in a good place, and settle into that. And by 2020, obviously, this is the desire with whether it's boredom, whether it's stress, all of the COVID things, his mechanism of coping with those cravings was to exercise. We were working out together because it brought us closer. COVID was the best thing that could have ever happened to our relationship. I hate saying that because it was such a horrible time.
Right.
But it really did transform us in every way. And we were exercising a lot of yoga, a lot of strength training from home, 2 to 3 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because every time he got a craving, he was like, I'm going to work out. You want to work out with me? Well, yes, I do. So that was really a big surge forward. We really were like, okay, we're doing this. That was our survival mode during that hard time. And it just got better and better and better. So it's not, I had the knowledge the whole time, but when you're in darkness, knowledge means nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that's one big thing that people don't understand when it comes to health, wellness, mentally, emotionally, physically. What is the reason why you're unhealthy? Because it's not just that you're eating poorly or not exercising. It goes way deeper than that. So I think, yes, I have the knowledge, but that doesn't fix the reasons why you're not implementing that knowledge, if that makes sense.
It does. It does to me, at least. And guys, just as a reminder, if you have questions for Kristin, put them in the chat and we'll put them up as I see them. Were you working as a personal trainer during all this time before you guys were in your own mode of exercising together?
Yes.
No, and then there's no judgment there. Just so curious.
And I think that's my most upsetting element to it because I got officially certified early 2015. And so I was literally an alcoholic and going through all of this while training others for their health and wellness. But I was not taking care of myself, ironically enough.
I mean, how many times you see doctors who are smoking or whatnot, right? It's like they
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
yet the coping mechanisms in place to deal with all these other things. So yeah, I have no
Absolutely.
judgment on that. Um, I'm curious then, all these things shifted in your personal life. What has that done in your professional life? What did that change for how you chose to approach your clients, or how your messaging changed to your clients?
I am actually really, really grateful for the struggle that me and my husband went through, because it gave me significant perspective. Because I now understand, even if somebody doesn't have an addiction, like outwardly, but I now understand when someone comes to me and they're like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I just can't seem to get this on track. I just can't, and years ago I would have been like, what's wrong with you? Just do it. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
simple. And yes, it is still simple. It's the approach is simple. Eating healthier food, exercising, it's simple. That doesn't mean it's easy. And so when you have to tap into, what is the reason why I'm not doing these things? What is interfering? Because there's a reason. It's not just like, oh, I just don't have any willpower. No, it goes deeper than that. It's very much the 5 whys. Ask yourself. That's what I try to do with anybody who's potentially going to become a client of mine is, why are you doing this? Well, I want to lose weight. Okay. Why do you want to lose weight? Oh, because I want to feel better. Okay. Why do you want to feel better? So you ask yourself why after why after why, and it gets you down to the root reason. Why are you unhealthy in the first place? When did it start? What can you connect to that? So it helps me with my patience, I would say, and my perspective on, it's not just, oh, just do it, because it goes so much deeper than that, that it leads me into more in-depth conversations with these people, and patience as to, yeah, maybe they've got the exercise, they're super consistent, but they're still eating terribly. Okay, well, you stick with that exercise. What can we do one little baby step at a time to change your health behavior, like your food health behaviors, to catch up to the consistency with the exercise? So I definitely say it has changed my understanding of people, because it's everybody has that same struggle. People think that their challenge is unique. Humans are humans. That's the human brain. We all have our little specific challenges, but overall, it's all pretty much stemming from the same source, or the same few sources. So you figure that out, you can solve people's problems.
So I've seen you, it's just hearing where all your story has come from. I've seen you in a video be like, here's things I want to tell you. Hold on, my exercise break is over. And you go over and do a handstand push-up, like 5 of these handstand push-ups, and then come back over and continue your video. That is like, I guess, goals, but also like, I guess where's my question with this? Maybe I just want to mention it, that like, it, to me, it's ridiculous, as well as the fact, if I can just put this out there, because I found Kristin right at the change into 2024, and had been looking for looking through a bunch of trainers and interviewing various trainers, and finding the things that were important to me just were not meshing with the people I was talking to.
Yeah.
And Kristin, when I said, I'm almost kind of giving up on looking for trainers, here are the things that matter. She's like, yeah, okay, let's figure out something that works with your life. It was like, oh, really? Like, you're not going to shame me for wanting to stay vegan and trying to do all these things. And just been incredibly supportive. I'm curious, you talk about the 5 whys. What is your method for somebody who is just starting out, who feels like, I don't even know where to start? You do the 5 whys, but then also, you and I have talked a lot about, like, I had a goal of what day I wanted to have a certain weight by, and these very certain things done. And what I felt is you going, yes, and let's look at other progress besides what's on the scale. So where do you start with someone who's coming and going, I know I want this thing, but either their goals are really like off center of healthy, or like, what do you do with that when somebody comes to you with those kinds of things? If that makes sense.
That is definitely where I try to be gentle, but also very blunt with realistic, scenarios, where people will come and be like, I want to get rid of my arm flab by the end of the month. And I'm like, that's not how the body works. Like, it's just not going to happen that fast. So trying to give them, first off, a realistic expectation of how the body works, how the body responds, but also understanding that, this industry is really bad, especially for women. If you look at all the advertisements out there, and every decade there's a different focus, one decade it's low fat, focus on low fat. Another decade it's all about cardio and low carb, and then it's keto, and it's just all of these different things, and it may work. You may get results, but it doesn't work for everybody. And you have to understand that you can't go extreme and expect it to be long lasting. Mm-hmm. So I like to try to approach it with people where, one, they understand the realistic expectations as much as I can possibly explain that in words without them seeing what I mean. The body takes time to respond. The body takes time to repair. And you have to start before you're ready. A lot of people want to go extreme. Women want to do the 1,200 calories. That seems to be the magic weight loss number for women. When you might need to repair your body first, repair your metabolism from years of trying to do 1,200 calorie extreme diets and really intense CrossFit level workouts, which, not knocking CrossFit. If you want to go there, go there. But the idea of it, every single workout, is just unrealistic. You're breaking yourself down instead of benefiting yourself. Mm-hmm. And only seeing the approach of, skinny equals healthy is very, very dangerous. Mm-hmm. And I think we've developed that perspective to such an extreme that we forget that, what is your mood? Like, you may be skinny, but if you're miserable and you're bitchy, you know what I mean? Nobody's going to want to be around you anyway. So just because you might look good on the outside doesn't mean things are functioning well on the inside. So if it's all about your mood, it's all about your energy levels. How well are you sleeping? What are your cravings? Are you hungry all the time? Do you feel physically just, there's so many different aspects to it that when you're first getting started, you just have to understand. And as cheesy as this sounds, you have to learn how to love and appreciate your one body, because it's all you get. And so if you give your body what it needs in every aspect, don't break it down. Don't, do things that are going to, but forcing your body to respond is not effective. Yeah. So doing the extreme behaviors, it just doesn't work, and people don't understand why. It's because you've done it for so long. And, I think mindset has a lot to do with this approach. So I'm not saying that you can think yourself healthy, but you can at the same time. So if you're just starting out, you have to understand that if you want new results, then you have to do stuff that you haven't done before. You have to do something new. You have to be patient with yourself, and you have to understand that it will not happen overnight, and you cannot continue trying to do the same things you've always done and expect to get the same result, because it's not going to work.
The definition of insanity.
Yeah.
And yes, doing it. So I guess my follow-up then is, I've never been sporty. This is the first time I've ever been consistent with working out since partnering with you. So is there, if I came to you saying, hey, I want to be able to do handstand push-ups, is that even something my body at 37 going on 38 years old would be able to do with the right training, with the right efforts?
And in that video, I am 37 years old. So
but with a very sporty and exercise centric background, I feel like is the difference. That I'm like, well, I just have never been that. So my brain goes, that's not me. I can't do that.
I genuinely believe, barring any kind of physical limitation, but your average person, it doesn't matter where you have come from. It doesn't matter whether you grew up playing sports your whole life like I did, or you've never been on a sports field, court, etc. in your life. The body is the body. The body is straightforward. So the human function is capable of doing anything fitness related. I fully believe that. It's a matter of getting your body to a point where you have the strength, you develop the mobility, the flexibility, and getting your body weight to a healthy point, which is a unique thing in this, at least this part of the world these days. But it seems like this daunting task. But if you're willing to put in the work, then absolutely anybody can achieve that at any age. Let me emphasize that. It does not matter if you're 40, 50, 60 plus, because I've still seen 70-year-olds do handstand push-ups when they didn't even start working out until they were like 65 or something. I mean, like, there are crazy stories like that, but the human body can heal itself. So if you give it what it needs and you stay super consistent, absolutely. I have no doubt that any human body, almost any, like I said, barring ailments, can do anything if you put enough effort into it.
Okay. So I think I have more questions
with you eventually.
Yeah. Okay. So 2 follow-ups. One is, with names changed, what do you feel is your greatest success story as a personal trainer, beyond your own story, but working with a client?
I would say so far, now there is, I mean, it depends on male versus female. I have one male that couldn't do one push-up, literally, not one rep of a push-up whenever he first started. And within about, well, he could do push-ups before this point, but I'd say about 4 months into consistently showing up, he was able to knock out 3-4 sets of 15 reps on his feet, no problem. I mean, it's a matter of consistent behavior. Completely transformed the shape of his body in a matter of.
I've been working out nearly every day, as you know, since January, and I'm still struggling with a push-up. So, but I'm just gonna give that that's his body and male, and good for him. Love that for him.
Well, and remember, everybody starts in a different place.
That too. And yeah, I don't know that I was ever able to really do a full true push-up before, right? Even when I was a youngster. So I am already starting in a very different place. But okay. So
I will say too, then I'd say my most successful female, she's still working with me. She started working with me January 1st of 2022. I remember it very specifically because she started at 273 pounds. She had a goal from day one that she wanted to get down to 150. On day one, that she could not hold a plank position. She couldn't even hold herself up for 15 seconds. That, like, don't even get me started on push-ups, because now she can't do them right now. She just had rotator cuff surgery that she's trying to recover from. So she can't wait to get back to her
time and place.
But she is currently just 12 pounds away from her 150-pound goal. So her reward to herself, and this was from day one, she wanted to lose all the weight. She wanted to celebrate herself with the whole tummy tuck transformation, all of that stuff, because of all the loose skin. And she has that scheduled for May. So I told her, I was like, we are losing this last 12 pounds. She's going to get her surgery. She's going to recover from her surgery. And then you will be seeing her do handstand push-ups, because our next phase with her is fitness related, not just weight loss related. So
I hope that she sees this, and I hope, whoever you are, that you feel comfortable and confident. I would love to see your before and afters if you're up for that sort of thing. So
I guarantee she would be.
I love it. So I don't know if you saw Carissa's comment that was up before, just saying the follow through for her and just feeling so constantly run down. Those are the traps that she has. So and also this kind of fits into my last question, which is what really held me back for a long time was from investing in a personal trainer for myself was the cost. Right. And thank you, Krista, for posting that comment as well. And everybody who's being very open with this, including Kristin. What do you recommend for the people who feel like, I have these barriers? I do not have the time. I do not have the money. I push and push and push, but I don't, for whatever reason, have the follow through, even though I want this thing.
Right.
What would you tell them?
I think people who, first off, on the follow through, it's not a you thing. That's a human brain thing. Okay. Because you want it. You do. Mentally, you want it. You do. You might not be ready to execute it, because wherever you are, even if you feel so sick and tired of being where you are with your health, is it more or less uncomfortable to stay where you are versus make a change? So usually mentally you're like, oh, I'm so tired of this. I'm so tired of this. But when it comes to actually executing behavior changes, that's hard. And as soon as you meet that wall of hard, the wall wins.
Yeah.
So obviously you're not quite to a point where it's more uncomfortable to make the change than it is to stay the same. So you have to get to, I know it's confusing. I'll say it again. You have to get to a point where changing is less uncomfortable than remaining the same. And when you get to that point, then your human brain pushes through the hard and pushes through the varying degrees of uncomfortable that you will feel in all of those transitional behaviors. And it takes time. And I think the biggest thing is people try to do everything all at once. I am not an everything all at once kind of approach, because it's not realistically sustainable long term. You overwhelm.
My ADHD brain wants to do that. And it used to work for my body to be like, well, if I exercise 3 weeks from now, I'll have dropped 15 pounds. And like, just with not eating dessert and making sure I do some squats every day, I'll drop all this weight. That doesn't work anymore for this, if I may say so.
Well, and that's so understanding as your body, it gets older, especially women and our hormones, you have to understand that it's just the body. It's just the human body. You don't come down on yourself. You're not in your 20s anymore, and that's okay. You can't do the same things you did in your 20s when you're in your 40s and expect the same result, because your body's not going to respond the same way. If you understand and learn that and make those adjustments and be okay with those adjustments, which maybe in your 20s, your body could handle something, it can't handle it in the 40s. Cool. Adjust, pivot, cheesy, love your body, but it's true. Give your body what it needs. Your body will respond and reward you. And then what was the other part of the question?
The people who have the barrier of money, finances.
That can be a challenging one, because this industry can be expensive. Depending on where you go, and there can be, in my opinion, I hesitate saying this, but there can be some greediness depending on where you go, where, you know, it's hard to find that balance between what people can afford to get enough, benefit from working with a coach or a trainer, but the trainer also running a business. But at the same time, people have more money than they think. People have more time than they think. I promise you, because the number one thing that I heard, or that I've heard since COVID, is how people put on all this weight during COVID. You had nothing but time during lockdowns. Okay. So time is not your reason. We convince ourselves, maybe if you didn't, financially, don't go out to eat. Don't go out to eat. We don't go out to eat anymore.
The latte factor, the Starbucks and Dutch Brothers, and my favorite things.
They're delicious. Yeah. But I will say, and we were the same way, my husband and I, it was also part of his health. Right. Going out and eating any restaurant food, even if they say it's, home cooked and cooked from scratch, whatever they say. No, it's not. It's still processed. And we know that because his body gets real angry real fast if he eats the wrong thing and processed things. So getting to a point where we slowly transitioned. We used to eat meat like crazy. We go out to eat all the time. And again, during COVID, when we had to back off of that because places were closed or limited, helped us realize, oh my God, look at how much money we're spending on doing this. I was once a instructor with a boot camp company, and 1 month, you could get a full month of this in-person outdoor group workout boot camp environment. People say they didn't have enough money, but yet you see them on social media going out to eat with their family. I guarantee one meal with a family of 4 was the same price, if not more expensive, than 1 full month of that boot camp. You have the money if you choose to make sacrifices in other areas of your life to dedicate that time and financial investment in your health.
And I will say, Chris and I have had this conversation of when I first started out, I thought I was doing plenty of healthy things, but the amount of times I was eating out, the amount of money that I was spending, Dustin and I both, on eating out, and then realizing with as much as I'm spending on various health efforts I'm making now, it's like, oh, that looks like such a big bill. We're still spending less than we were before we chose to go down this path. So it is interesting when you prioritize differently, what is suddenly possible that felt impossible. Isn't that right, Ziggy?
Look at that sweet face. Well, and people understanding that, you have to be willing to make those sacrifices. And they seem like sacrifices at first because you're so conditioned, you're so used to going in, whether it's for social reasons or whether you just feel like you have to get out of the house or you're celebrating the end of your stressful work week or whatever. Like, I understand that. And sure, doing it on occasion is great, but you are really, if anybody, I always use this example. If you wanted to take your kids to Disneyland, you would find places to cut your costs in your life as much as you needed to because you want to take your kids on that trip so badly, and you know what the cost is for that trip, and you'll do whatever is necessary to sacrifice for a temporary short period of time to make that trip happen. We do that for other people. We never do that for ourselves. Interestingly, we will not sacrifice for ourselves to invest in our health. Like I said in the very beginning of this, we think too much in this part of the world, too much in fixing a problem versus preventing the problem from developing in the first place.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to change your habits, but that's the hardest, but also most rewarding aspect of what I do and the approach that I have is trying to show people, like, anybody can do this. You don't have to be extreme about it. My client that's lost 100 plus pounds, she has not done anything extreme. That woman travels constantly. She's a school teacher. So she's not rolling in the dough, people. But but they're also, she's married and, they're comfortable enough. But they rarely go out to eat. She still travels. She just got back from a few days in New York, followed by a few days in Chicago. She goes on these individual trips. She's married with a child. She goes on trips by herself because she's just that person, and it's beautiful. She still showed up for her live workouts during her trips. She was walking 25 to 30,000 steps in New York because everybody walks in New York.
Of course,
but
yeah.
She still sent me photos of New York pizza, but she didn't do that with every single meal. So she was able to go on a week-long, multi-city trip there, come back, and in a month time frame, she only lost like 1 or 2 pounds. No, actually, she stayed the same weight, but she lost 6 inches because she lives her life in balance. She's figured it out. She's not extreme. She keeps her discipline, but she also indulges in those moments that any human should indulge in.
With purpose, yeah.
Right. She has
I gotta cut this off, even though I could continue this conversation for another hour. Obviously, this is just like and I've talked with you so much. I feel like I've learned so much about you today that I had no idea about somehow. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm gonna have Carissa put the link to your website, Essentials Fitness, in up on the screen and in the chat. If you are interested in what Kristin does, I'm in Washington State. She's in Kentucky, and has still been able to provide exceptional training for me in turning my entire health and, frankly, my life around with my habits and mindset. So if that is of interest to you, please go to her website. Please reach out. Kristin, thank you so much for joining us today. And I'll be talking to you literally right after this. So stick around.
Literally.
Literally right after this, we have a weekly appointment. Thank you. So like I said, genuinely, I could keep on this conversation. I just think it's so interesting. I hope you all learned a lot just listening in on that perspective from Kristin as well, and from Ziggy and his perspective, new cat on my lap. But if you have additional questions for Kristin, please put them in the chat. We can make sure that she gets them. Next week, I want to tell you about next week. I really did take my ADHD medication this morning, guys, but it may not have kicked in yet, and cats. Next week, Carissa and I are back for our last takeover of Coffee Breaks with Steve while he is finishing up his trip around the world with the siblings. And Carissa and I will be talking about taking a different perspective on mental health. So I hope you will join us for that conversation as well. Thank you so much for everyone who joined in the conversation today. And as Steve always says, let me see if I can get this right. Find a difference to make... back it up. Drink. Find a way to make a difference in your world this week. God bless, and we'll see you soon. Bye. Am I the only one who does this?